A man who craves you but won't admit it is in conflict. His emotions are louder than his words. Your role isn't to chase the confession. It's to recognize the signs, stay grounded in your worth, and create space for him to meet you with honesty. When you understand these signals, you stop guessing and start leading your love life with calm confidence. When a man is truly craving someone, it's rarely as simple as him openly declaring it. Men in particular often express desire in indirect and subtle ways. They're not always wired to articulate their emotions immediately, especially when they feel vulnerable or fear appearing too eager. What this means is that the signals of attraction are often hidden in everyday behavior rather than in bold statements. The small, seemingly insignificant actions you notice can carry far more meaning than anything he might explicitly say. For example, a man who is drawn to you will find ways to consistently be present in your life without making it obvious. It could be through texting just to share something he knows you'll like, showing up where you are unexpectedly, or casually offering help in situations where he doesn't need to. These aren't random acts. They're his way of staying connected while protecting his pride or sense of composure. Another layer of these subtle patterns is the way he pays attention to details that might go unnoticed by others. He remembers what you told him weeks ago, picks up on changes in your mood, or notices the little things you enjoy. This kind of attentiveness is not just a sign of interest. It's a reflection of emotional investment. When someone is craving you, their mind and heart are actively engaged in understanding you, anticipating your needs, and seeking moments that reinforce your bond. It's the consistent repetition of these small behaviors that builds a deeper, almost unconscious connection. Beyond attentiveness, the way a man's body language and energy shifts around you can reveal a lot about his internal state. You might notice him leaning in when you talk, mirroring your gestures, or subtly adjusting his posture to face you more directly. These micro behaviors often happen without conscious thoughts, and they are physical manifestations of desire and focus. Even the way he interacts with others in your presence can change. He might become slightly more protective, more competitive, or more eager to impress. It's important to understand that these patterns are not about manipulation or control. They are natural expressions of attraction filtered through a lens of caution. Men may crave emotional and physical closeness, but feel hesitant to declare it openly, especially if they are unsure of your feelings or afraid of rejection. Recognizing these subtle signals allows you to see his interest clearly without needing him to verbalize it. When you learn to read the nuances, the consistent but understated behaviors, the attentiveness, the shifts in energy, you gain insight into his true feelings. It empowers you to respond in a way that is confident, informed, and emotionally intelligent without having to chase affirmation or demand declarations of desire. Subtle male behavior patterns are like a language of attraction, quiet, consistent, and deeply revealing. Once you start observing these behaviors, you can discern genuine interest from casual friendliness. And you can approach your relationships with clarity, confidence, and emotional awareness. Emotional vulnerability is one of the most overlooked signs that a man is craving someone, especially because many men are conditioned to hide their feelings. Society often teaches men that expressing deep emotions is a weakness. So even when a man feels strongly about someone, he may struggle to show it openly. This doesn't mean he isn't interested. It often means the intensity of his feelings is being filtered through caution and self-protection. A man who is quietly craving you may reveal his vulnerability in subtle, indirect ways, through small moments of openness, fleeting expressions of honesty, or the willingness to share thoughts he usually keeps private. These glimpses are more significant than words like "I like you" because they reveal his inner emotional world, which he doesn't give away easily. When a man is emotionally vulnerable, it often comes out in his willingness to let you see him as he truly is. He might make small confessions about his day, his fears, or his ambitions, or share a story that exposes a part of him he rarely reveals. These moments are an invitation into his inner life, a signal that he trusts you and values your presence. It is his way of saying without words that you matter enough for him to lower his guard. Emotional vulnerability is a direct reflection of desire because it requires courage. To open up emotionally is to risk rejection, yet a man who is craving you will take that risk in small, controlled ways. Another key element of this vulnerability is the hesitation to admit attraction outright. Many men fear that expressing desire too strongly will disrupt the balance of a developing connection or make them appear needy. So instead, they convey their feelings through their attention, their efforts, and their presence. These indirect cues, staying engaged in conversations, showing concern for your well-being, or remembering what's important to you, are all rooted in emotional vulnerability. They are signals that internally, he is feeling deeply connected to you, even if externally he remains composed or seemingly indifferent. Understanding this pattern, vulnerability, is empowering because it shifts the perspective from, is he interested, to how is he showing interest in his own way. Recognizing these signs allows you to interpret his actions accurately without forcing him into a verbal declaration. He may not be ready to give. It also helps you create a dynamic where emotional honesty is encouraged, yet it feels safe and natural rather than pressured. Emotional vulnerability is the quiet language of desire. When a man shows you parts of himself that he rarely shares with anyone else, it's a profound indicator of craving and investment. By tuning into these subtle expressions, you can navigate relationships with clarity and confidence, understanding that the most meaningful connections are often communicated not through words, but through courageous glimpses of the heart. Psychological attraction triggers are subtle yet powerful ways a man expresses that he is craving someone, even if he won't say it directly. Desire is not only about physical presence or romantic gestures, it is deeply rooted in the mind. A man's brain responds to connection, curiosity, and emotional resonance long before he consciously decides to show interest. When a man is psychologically drawn to someone, he is constantly noticing patterns, seeking understanding, and finding ways to feel closer without explicitly declaring his feelings. These triggers are often unconscious, but they reveal a deep, persistent interest that goes beyond surface-level attraction. One of the clearest signs of psychological attraction is attention to detail. He remembers things you said in passing, notices changes in your mood, and pays attention to what excites or frustrates you. These actions are more than politeness. They demonstrate that he is processing your words, your emotions, and your behaviors, storing them in his mind because he cares. This is the brain's way of mapping a connection, creating an internal record that strengthens his bond with you without needing verbal affirmation. The small, seemingly insignificant observations, the way you sip your coffee, a phrase you often use, or a subtle shift in your expression, are all ways he's mentally and emotionally engaging with you. Another aspect of psychological attraction is curiosity. A man who is craving you will naturally want to understand your world, your thoughts, feelings, experiences, and perspectives. This curiosity is not superficial. It goes beyond casual questions. He asks layered, meaningful questions that allow him to explore your mind and emotional state. His interest in your responses is genuine, and he often remembers your answers for later conversations. This mental engagement signals that he is not only focused on you in the moment, but is also building a long-term understanding of who you are and what makes you unique. Mirroring is another psychological trigger that often goes unnoticed. When a man is drawn to someone, he unconsciously adopts elements of their behavior, speech patterns, and energy. This synchronization is a nonverbal expression of connection, signaling that he is attuned to your presence and invested in creating harmony between you both. It is the brain's way of signaling attraction, an instinctive alignment that occurs when someone matters to him on a deeper level. Understanding these psychological attraction triggers allows you to see past the surface and recognize the signals of genuine craving. They reveal that desire is not always about what is said, but about how someone engages with you mentally and emotionally. By observing these subtle behaviors, you gain clarity about his feelings and can respond with insight, confidence, and emotional intelligence. The most compelling connections are often rooted in these psychological cues. The way a man's mind and heart are drawn to you, even when his lips are silent. Female empowerment in the context of understanding a man's silent craving is about clarity, confidence, and the ability to interpret behaviors without losing your sense of self. One of the most common challenges women face is uncertainty, wondering whether a man's attention is genuine or merely casual. When you can identify the subtle signals that indicate true interest, you gain not only knowledge about him, but also power over your own emotional responses. Empowerment comes from understanding the difference between superficial gestures and actions that reflect genuine emotional investment. This knowledge allows you to make informed decisions rather than reacting impulsively to confusion or mixed signals. Recognizing a man's silent craving shifts the dynamic from chasing validation to observing patterns. A woman who understands these behaviors can see when he is emotionally present, mentally engaged, and consistently thoughtful. She can differentiate between fleeting attention and meaningful investment. For instance, if a man remembers details about your life, makes an effort to be present, and subtly prioritizes your comfort and happiness, these are indicators of real craving. Empowerment means acknowledging these actions without over-analyzing or feeling pressured to extract verbal confirmation. You are able to trust your observations and use them to guide your interactions confidently. Female empowerment involves understanding that your value is not determined by his acknowledgement. While recognizing his interest is important, your primary focus remains on maintaining your self-worth and boundaries. By observing his behavior through an empowered lens, you can respond in ways that are aligned with your needs, desires, and standards, rather than bending to uncertainty. This mindset allows you to cultivate a relationship dynamic where mutual respect and emotional reciprocity are central, rather than guessing or compromising your sense of self for affirmation. Another element of empowerment is emotional intelligence. By interpreting his subtle signals accurately, you become attuned not just to his behaviors, but also to your own responses. You learn how to manage expectations, foster patience, and create an environment where genuine attraction can flourish naturally. Instead of feeling anxious about unspoken feelings, you recognize patterns and understand the underlying intentions, which allows you to act with confidence and clarity. Female empowerment insight transforms your approach to relationships. It shifts the focus from trying to make someone reveal their feelings to observing, understanding, and responding thoughtfully. You become someone who can recognize silent craving without losing control, someone who can lead interactions with grace, intelligence, and self-assurance. This insight is not manipulation, it is awareness. The ability to see, interpret, and navigate attraction dynamics effectively. The result is that you are no longer passively hoping for clarity. You are actively creating it, and in doing so, you elevate your ability to engage with men who truly value and desire you. A balanced response strategy is essential when you recognize that a man is craving you but hasn't openly admitted it. Many women fall into the trap of overreacting, either by chasing constant validation or withdrawing completely, which can unintentionally create confusion or tension in the connection. The key to a balanced response is maintaining your self-respect while still engaging meaningfully with him. It's about observing the subtle signs of his interest, acknowledging them internally, and responding in a way that communicates confidence, value, and emotional intelligence. You don't need him to articulate his desire to validate your worth. Your clarity and composure do that automatically. This Strategy begins with understanding the difference between his external actions and his internal state. Just because he isn't verbally declaring his feelings doesn't mean they aren't there. He may be craving you deeply, but fear, pride, or past experiences might prevent him from saying so. A balanced response involves recognizing these hidden intentions without attempting to force a confession or overanalyze every gesture. Instead, you focus on his consistent patterns, how often he reaches out, the effort he puts into understanding you, and the subtle ways he invests in your connection. By doing so, you respond to his actions rather than assumptions, which prevents unnecessary anxiety and miscommunication. Another element of this approach is pacing. When a man is subtly drawn to you, it's important not to rush the emotional revelation. Pulling back too much may create distance, while rushing in for constant reassurance can appear needy. A balanced response means maintaining your presence, keeping your life full and engaging, and showing appreciation for his efforts without overextending yourself. This creates a natural dynamic where he feels encouraged to open up over time, rather than feeling pressured or cornered. Equally important is emotional awareness. When you respond with balance, you're not suppressing your feelings. Rather, you are observing them and choosing how to act in a way that supports both your emotional well-being and the development of the connection. It's a conscious practice of recognizing the signals he gives, understanding what they mean, and deciding on a response that aligns with your values and boundaries. This creates a sense of stability in the relationship, one where both parties feel seen and appreciated without either side feeling overwhelmed or unsure. A balanced response strategy empowers you to navigate complex attraction dynamics with confidence and clarity. It's about meeting subtle desire with awareness, patience, and intention, allowing the man to show his true feelings naturally while you maintain your own sense of worth and control. By mastering this approach, you transform uncertainty into insight, anxiety into calm observation, and guessing games into conscious engagement. It's the practice of responding, not reacting, the hallmark of emotional intelligence, and a key factor in creating a connection that is meaningful, fulfilling, and grounded in mutual respect. A man's desire isn't always spoken aloud, and his craving for you can be subtle, quiet, and even confusing at times. But when you know what to look for, the consistent behaviors, the emotional vulnerability, the psychological signs, and the subtle ways he invests in you, you gain clarity. You stop guessing, stop overanalyzing, and start responding with confidence, intelligence, and self-respect. Understanding these signals isn't about manipulation, it's about awareness. It's about recognizing the truth of his feelings while staying grounded in your own worth. When you approach attraction with this insight, you create a space where genuine connection can flourish. You give him the opportunity to show up authentically while you remain composed, empowered, and emotionally intelligent. This balance is what transforms uncertainty into clarity and longing into real, meaningful connection. Remember, love and desire don't always announce themselves with words. Sometimes they are whispered in actions, attention, and subtle care. When you learn to see these signs, you step into a place of calm confidence, ready to engage in relationships that are both deeply fulfilling and emotionally resonant. The power isn't in making him admit his feelings. It's in recognizing them, understanding them, and responding in a way that honors both of you. That is how you turn silent craving into connection, curiosity into closeness, and attraction into something real.